Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm Courtney,
And I'm MK.
and how are ya?
I am actually pretty good today. Just living. Um, I have no idea what we were going to talk about on this episode of the podcast because I had a story ready for it when we were going to record it a week ago, and then we didn't record it, and now I don't know what I was going to talk about.
No, it's all right.
So,
It happens.
um, but yeah, so last week was my February break from my kids. But then that meant that this week was the first week back with children.
Mm.
So, like, I'm genuinely surprised that I'm okay today. It might have to do with the extra large margarita I had last night. Um,
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll get you.
but yeah, no, I have nothing really that exciting going on.
That's okay. You don't have to have anything exciting going on. Sometimes it's important to just rest.
Yeah,
Just have some resting time.
how are you?
Not having resting time, but fine. It's been a very busy week for me.
Mm,
Um, I talked to you Monday. Wednesday was like game changer for my life. Like it was insane. We
yeah.
I went over to Caitlin's and not any of the Caitlins, but another one. And we shot the music video for her Tiny Desk submission on Wednesday.
Oh,
And
good.
it was so much fun. And I didn't know what I was doing because that is not a thing I do. And me and Jacqueline were like doing camera work and like setting up lights. And like it was wild. It was just the four of us. And we had birria tacos and we hung out and had beer and shot a music video for that we're submitting to a competition. And it was just the greatest. But at the end of the night, I finally signed up for my LLC. So I
Yeah.
am official now, which is very cool. And then I woke up the next morning and was like, oh my God, now I have to get a bank account. Now I have to do this. Like, that wasn't the last step. That was the first step. And so
Yes, the number
a
of
lot
times
more
that
to
I
do
say
now.
something, the number of times that I say something about like, well, and I own a business and people look at me and I'm like, yeah, no, like I own a corp company, I own an LLC, I have a business in my name. That doesn't mean I've done shit with it or have any real understanding of what I'm doing, but yes, technically I am a business owner.
Right. Right. Same apparently. So it's exciting and terrifying. But it was a good step in the right direction. I have a lot of meetings set up for next week. So really doing this agency thing.
Fantastic.
But yeah. You know what else is fantastic? Good for us in these trying times with a little rest.
It is inspirational quote time. It's really
It is.
upsetting because I had to find them now that my cards are all ran out. But
For 3 episodes.
I
You're
know
only three off.
it was
Four off. What
really,
episode are we on?
I don't even know. But this says, and I think this fits with what we were just talking about for your life. Don't worry about the challenges. Get excited about the rewards of crushing them. Baral Nagda.
I am so ready to make $8 million. I like this
That
business. I have put so much money into it already that like
I,
probably a couple $1,000s. Like this business is gonna have to turn around a profit soon.
I I hate to break it to you, but 3 years into this podcast, my profit margin is still very much negative.
Okay, well, I have like 7 businesses under my LLC that I'm doing. Theoretically, one of them should make money, right? One of them at least.
Hopefully.
Can't bank on the nonprofit because, like, it's a
You know,
nonprofit,
that's literally in the title.
literally in the title. It's only for my personal fulfillment, which
Oh,
I guess is also important, but
sure, sure. It's just
it
not sustain.
works.
It just doesn't feed yourself or your dog.
It feeds other people, which is good. It's great. It's
That is
excellent.
good.
It's very
That's
important. I love my
fantastic.
nonprofit, but I also love to eat food and drink coffee and take naps. So, unfortunately, that is not any of the things we're doing today, or
No.
fortunately for you, because we're here to
Yes.
discuss Bates Motel, Season 5, Episode 6, Inseparable.
Oh, that's what it was called. I didn't know.
Shown up. Sure was. It aired April 3rd, 2017. It was rated 8.9 out of 10.
Hey,
Um, the number one book was Shape of You. Still, the number one movie is The
that's
Thief.
the. I think you said the number one book, but I think you meant song because I don't.
So, because I wrote book and then wrote the title of the song. Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
read my
cool, cool,
handwriting.
cool.
You're correct. The song, number one song was Shape of You. I clearly was tired when I did these notes last time. The number one movie was The Fate and the Furious, and the number one book was still The Shack. I think those were all returning from the week before.
All right. The Fate of
Um,
the Furious.
on this day, I found a full page of things that has occurred.
Oh, that's
I know
lovely.
it's not, but it's a lot of things.
Oh, they're just
It
all
was
bad.
the right. The St. Petersburg metro bombing happened today.
Okay.
Um, at the Vostania Square station. It's not great. There was piracy off the coast of Somalia.
Good.
One very cool thing. I do have one cool thing. The an Egyptian excavation team discovered the remains of a pyramid dating back 3,700 years to the 13th dynasty of Egypt, which is very cool. Um, and then there was a Cyclone Debbie,
I'm pretty
boiler
sure that
explosion.
that pyramid is the one that they discovered, and then like slightly after that, like end of 2018, they opened it, like the sarcophagus, and that's why everything for the last 5 years has been absolute garbage because they released the Curse of the Mummy.
Okay, well, it's still April 3rd, 2017 right now.
Oh,
So we're
okay.
not going to accept this result. We were talking about day of, and this seems neat. All good things. One good thing. And one good thing.
That's true because
So
nothing on that list was really great.
no,
Just
the rest was not. The rest was terrible.
yeah.
Um, we have a new director, Steph Green. She is known for The Americans, 2019 Watchmen, Book of Boba Fett, Dare Me, and with our favorite, Joel De La Fuentes, Man in the High Castle, which I still haven't seen, but
Still haven't
I
seen it
will
no,
still
but
promote it.
I have seen the Book of Boba Fett.
I have not.
Most people
I
do
also have
not
seen
like
Dare
it.
Me, but I heard Dare Me was good. Did you like it?
Boba Fett. I didn't dislike it, but the theme song of Boba Fett might be my favorite theme song, like even more than the Stargate theme song, which is saying something. Like to the point where Dan and I have talked about incorporating that into our entrance into our reception at our wedding. Like it's my fucking favorite song.
You're such dorks.
Accurate.
I will watch it one day. Not today.
Not today.
Today. Writers are the same, but the story this week was written by Freddie Highmore, which is fun.
Fantastic.
Um, our editor is Sarah Boyd, who we have already talked about. She was the director on Refraction, The Convergence of the Twain, and Bad Blood. So we are
Okay.
already familiar with her. Um,
Phenomenal.
and she's done editing on like 6 other episodes too, but we didn't talk about her in that sense. I talked about her as a director. Our one and only person on the show that has never been on the show before today is Shannon Chankent plays the pharmacist. She's known for Woke, Good Trouble, Life Sentence, and My Little Pony. Her most
I don't
recent
know what I
credit.
was expecting for the last one, but that wasn't it.
She's done a lot of voiceover work that she's known
Okay.
for, it seems. And so, My Little Pony. But her most recent credit is as Amy Rose in Sonic Prime. Also voiceover, clearly. But
Yeah.
it's very
Amy
exciting stuff.
Rose is here.
Have you watched Sonic Prime? Or is this just like
Um, no,
familiar?
that's a quote from that's the Amy's entrance thing whenever you're playing Sonic Adventure 2 on the battle mode when the characters like
Mm-hmm.
enter, she goes, Amy Rose is here.
See, I had Sega Sonic, and then I think I have it on my Switch.
Mm.
But yeah, so I didn't have the version.
Oh, I had Sonic Adventure 2 Battle and I had Sonic Heroes. And
I think
I watched The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic Underground, Sonic X. Yes, that's the one that was Sonic X. I haven't watched the newest Sonic, the Sonic Prime, but I've seen basically every other Sonic TV cartoon.
I think I only watched The Adventures of Sonic, and I had the original like Sonic game, and I've had it on a couple different platforms, and the Winter Olympics Sonic game. I'm
No,
really into that.
two of my favorite names for girls that I have thought about naming my kid are Amy and Rose. And I like the idea of like the Southern double name thing. But then every time I think about Amy Rose, I can't because then I'm like, I'm not naming her after the Sonic character.
Sure, right. I mean, there are worse things to name a child after,
There are, but
like an
Amy,
apple, but you know, it's fine.
or the fact that Paris Hilton named her son Phoenix with no connection to the city. It just looked at a map and found until she found a name that she liked as a boy name because her name is a city name. And her grandpa's name was a city name. So she had to name her son a city name. And the only name that like jumped out to her from the map was Phoenix.
I can't. I
But then she
can't.
did actually have a really nice story about like the phoenix, the bird, and why this new life as a mother is like a new life for her. And so like and like she doesn't have to be what people
So
think
it
of her
worked
as.
out.
So it worked out and it was actually really
Yeah.
beautiful. But the way she found it was just like looking at a map.
To be fair though, like if I were to name something, that's probably like the approach I would take. It's something really random, just would come up, and I'd be like, "Yep, that's it." Why? I don't know. That's it now. That's
That's
now
it.
what it's gonna be forever. So,
See, I always had baby names picked out until I actually started dating the person I'm going to have children with, and then they disappeared because it didn't fit. But now I once again have new
we've
names.
started over.
Started
Yes, that's
over.
fine.
Yes.
See, good plan. Good plan.
Yeah.
Um, I will tell you, my notes last week were a disaster apparently because this is episode 7, not 6. Just the starting notes. The
Mm.
regular notes are fine,
Oh, okay,
but my
good.
starting notes make no sense. It seems with my
Well, you also
my
thought Ed
books of
Sheeran wrote a book.
songs.
Yeah.
Right, right. My books of songs, my episode numbers are wrong. It's fine. Bear with me. The rest should be okay.
Good, good, because I'm looking at my notes and I don't know if I remember the episode at all because my first note just says, "Damn, okay."
Honestly, I'm just hoping I remember the episode as we go along.
Don't I don't
But I have
know
like
what.
5 pages. So
Oh,
like
good. I
surely you'll
have
able to.
this much. That's it.
Yeah, that's not enough for me to
That's
remember what
not,
happened. Um, yeah. So we have. So I'm going to read my notes for what they are, and then I will correct them if they come up as wrong later. Because these are
cool.
my starting thoughts,
Cool,
and
cool,
usually
cool.
I like edit those a bit based on what actually happens.
Right.
So we start with a recap, um, basically of Alex, and we so it kind of shows us what we're getting into, and it seems like we're really gonna get like set everything up to resolve everything, which is
Which is
wonderful.
But I do remember when the recap started and it was like a whole recap about Alex, and we had literally just said that like we didn't think Alex was going to come back yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I guess we were wrong on that one.
Like, I mean, the amount of times we've been wrong on this show, like, not even just for Bates Motel, but just like in general.
Like you and I are usually really good at like guessing the plot of things, and
No, that is true.
so that's why the fact that Bates has like fucked us up every time
So much.
is impressive because it takes a lot to stump both of us that hard.
Right. Yeah. Correct. And like, and still keep the show good. Cause like there's people
Yeah,
that do it and they're like, off the wall, here's what happened. And it's like, that doesn't make sense. Like,
that
of
makes
course I didn't think of
no,
that because it doesn't make
because
sense.
that doesn't make sense, right?
Right. This one's like, oh no, that makes perfect sense. And also, like, maybe I could have thought about that if I paid attention to X, Y, and Z, but
Right.
like, it's
And like
not where I would have gone
with
next.
Stargate, we never know what to predict because it isn't serialized the way that
Right.
we want it to be, but within an episode, 10 minutes in, I can tell you everything that's going to happen in the whole episode.
Right. Which, like, to be
But
fair, in a
it's
million
still
guesses,
good.
I would not have guessed what the next episode of Stargate was about. If you gave me 10 million guesses, I don't think it would have been one of them. So it's fine. Just
Stay
stay
tuned for
tuned.
that one.
So now we actually start the episode and we open on a shot of dead Sam. And this is where he's like on the floor. It starts with his eye and like kind of comes out. And
Yeah.
it's very well done because it's also the exact shot they used to like show Marion dead in
Yeah.
the original film.
Yeah.
So great camera work, people. Um, and then Norma's back to clean up another murdery mess.
That's what my note, damn okay, was about. She just came in and started ordering around and moving things and ripping curtains down. And I was like, damn woman, okay, okay.
Yeah. So she's cleaning up his murdery mess. Well, she's instructing him to. And he's just kind of like accepting who he is. I was like, this isn't great. This is not a good starting point. Um, but then so they get the body, you know, they wrap everything up, throw it in the car, and they go to drop it in their typical spot, the lake. And first of all, he's driving a car with only one headlight. I was like, Norman, if you're gonna drive a dead body around, especially like knowing you have one headlight, you have to drive in the day because
I
you
didn't
get pulled over
notice
for stuff like
that.
that.
I
Yeah,
didn't even notice that.
yeah. Well, that's because a lot of other things were also happening. But I was like, you are going to get pulled over. And he would have gotten pulled over had they not been draining the bodies out of the river.
Right. But so we start seeing the flashing lights of the cop cars like at the falls, and I go, seeing the cops when you're about to dump a body, not a good sign.
Not a good sign. And like, instead of just being like, turn around here, go back to a new place, he gets out of the car. They get out of the car. I was like, what is
Yeah.
happening? You are only making bad decisions. None of these are any smart at all. And this is where we see that they are pulling a body out of the lake.
More than
And
one.
yeah, and Norma's like, this is gonna be a long night. I was like, yeah, Norma, this is gonna be a long night. Like, goodness gracious. So then we have the credits.
Yeah. The fact that she was just like, this is going to be a long night, and then it was credits, I was like, going to be a
You're
longer
not
night
wrong.
for me watching it.
I know this is gonna get wild.
Wild.
So so we go back to Norman, and they're discussing the bodies out of the lake. And he
Hmm.
immediately is like, it's Jim Blackwell. We're going to get called. And I was like, okay, maybe it's because it was so long ago, but like, why don't you think about literally any other body you put in the water? Like,
Well, because here's
I,
the thing. I genuinely don't think he knows. Because then that's what happens next is he was like, is there anyone else? And she's like,
right.
I don't know. And she like won't answer him. He genuinely doesn't have a recollection of dumping anyone except Jim.
But like, I also, does he remember dumping Jim? Because he didn't know any of that happened until he found the wallet later in his pocket, remember? I couldn't remember if they like talked about it before or
No,
anything.
yes, no, because he didn't remember killing Jim,
Hmm.
but but he was conscious of dumping the body because Alex called Jim when he dumped the body, and that's how he knew to go visit Alex in prison.
Right, right.
He didn't remember Jim being in the motel or the killing until later, but when he found the wallet, his mom was like, okay, we're gonna take care of this, and then they took him out of the freezer in the basement and dumped him.
Right. That's true. That's right. I forgot about that. Um, yeah, so that makes sense. And then he's asking her, he's like, have we done this before? And she's like,
Mum's the word.
Mom, mom's the word. And he's so instead of like, you know, starting over, going home, putting a body in the freezer, doing literally any other thing, they just start dragging the body through the wood. Like they drive off of it and start dragging the body through the woods. I was like, there's cops out and about right now.
Right.
Like, and they're digging bodies out of the lake, which probably means they're going to see if there are more bodies around.
Mhm.
Probably.
Yeah.
And just dragging it straight through.
And
And
and then he just stops and goes, maybe we should just turn ourselves in. I was like,
yeah, I was like, now Norman has a moral line.
10, 10
This
out of
is the one.
10, 10 out of 10 would recommend.
Yes, for sure. Um, and then but they of course don't. He throws the body into this well, and Norma just goes, "If I had a quarter, I'd make a wish." She's like, "I don't, I don't think so. I don't think this is the time." It was
It's weird.
wild. Um,
I had a question during
sure.
this, and it wasn't actually about the Norman and Norma nonsense. My question was just like a lot logistics question. What
Okay.
what made the cops decide to dredge the lake?
I think they were still searching for Jim Blackwell, and
Right.
they have probably found other. I mean, they found other. We know they found other bodies in that lake, so maybe that was
Right.
like
Right, but
a
like
logic on
what
their point.
at at that point I thought that they didn't know or really suspect that Jim was dead, just that he was gone.
I
And
think they suspected he was dead whenever Alex escaped.
mm, okay. No, and that's not even like I don't know that there is an answer. That was
Yeah,
just my
I don't
thought when I was
either.
just like, why, what made them decide now to put that much manpower into the lake? Like, did somebody
Yeah,
find something? Like,
I don't think so. I think Sheriff Green is just like really hardcore on this. And she's like, we're gonna try literally everything we have to.
yeah,
And you know, not the first time we found dead bodies in the lake. Let's try again. And lo and behold, um, there we go. Um, but yeah, and so now it seems Norma's gonna train Norman to be a murderer, which is very fun. Um, and she offers to him, obviously, he's like freaking out. So she offers to take over, and she's like, you never again have to do this. And he is just like blank. Like he is
yeah,
just not a person there. Um, and then the sheriff shows up at the house. And maybe are we at the no,
no,
we're still at the lake, sorry. So the sheriff shows up at the lake, and we find that they found multiple bodies in the water. And one of them is indeed Jim Blackwell.
yes,
Um, and they, is this when they're at the hotel? Did I just like skip a step?
no, yeah, I think it is going when the
She's
sheriff shows up at the hotel to tell Norman
okay.
that it's
Yeah,
Jim. Because my note just
right,
says so fucking awkward it hurts, and that had to have been about the
right.
way he interacted with her.
Very much because the next thing after she says that, including Jim, and she's like, did you have guests? And he's like, no, there were just a couple of unruly guests who only stayed a couple of hours. And I was like, you are so like judgy about this. Like, sure, it's bad because, one's married, but like, you know, it's just part
Yeah.
of life. And like, you just get over it. You're a
Well, but
hotel. What do you
also
think's gonna happen here?
this was the only time ever that I agreed with Norman because of semantic wordplay. Like in terms of like, so Norman said that he was washing sheets because he washes all the sheets once a week, whether people stay there or not.
Mhm. Right.
And then she asked if anybody was there, and he said that there had been one like room. And she was like, "You just said you were washing the sheets, even though nobody had been there." And I was like, no, ma'am, that's not what he said.
No. Yeah.
And there's 14 hotel rooms, and somebody stayed in one, and he's washing all the sheets. So I got really angry because I was like, usually Norman trips himself up, but that was on you
Mm.
for being that you just tried to pull semantic bullshit that wasn't accurate.
Yep. I had the same thought. I had the same thought. And but ugh, I just don't like her. I don't want Norman to succeed, but I don't want her to succeed either.
Right.
And those are
It's
not the
so
same thing.
aggravating. It's so aggravating because obviously like Dream World, Norman gets arrested for all the shit and the show ends with him locked up forever. But
Right.
also,
Correct.
why her? Because she's like so fucking cocky and annoying and I don't like her.
I don't either. Yeah. It's no fun. But that's okay. We are moving on to Alex, who wakes up at his sister's house, alive, thankfully. But we learn
Yep.
that he hasn't been eating, and he's like scarfing down his food, and he's like, "Did you take any of my stuff?" And she's like, "No, no." And he's like, "Okay, look, I know I had a gun," and like,
She's like,
great,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
right? And he's like, "I absolutely know I had a gun." And he's like, "And I'm glad you saved my life, but also like, you took
Give
my
me.
gun, and I'm gonna need that." And that's pretty much it with Alex right now. We go to the Bates home, and we see Norman is pulling out a wheelchair, and oh my gosh, oh, that says proactive. I was like, what does that word say? And we're seeing him even start being proactive about stuff because he knows kind of what the next steps are going to be.
Well, and she's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm cleaning up this stuff. And she's like, what do you need to clean up? And he's like, there are things in this house, mother. And I go, yeah, like your fucking corpse, lady.
Right, right. When I first saw the wheelchair, I was like, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know, like, what is he about to like transport? Is he throwing it out? And then when he's like, I'm cleaning things, I was like, oh, okay, we're about to like move mom's body. Fine.
But I have a problem with that. I have a
Mm-hmm.
very big problem with the wheelchair concept
Mm-hmm.
because, oh no, not the wheelchair concept. My problem comes later. Ignore me. I
Okay,
will talk to it when I get there. It's not with the wheelchair that
great.
I have a problem.
Excellent. I was not sure what your problem was with the wheelchair, so
Nope.
I'm glad it's not.
Nope. It comes in a minute. I will get there.
Perfect. So he loads up Norma's body and he doesn't let fake Norma help. He's like, no, you can't be involved in this. And so then he's like taking the I'm so sorry, my brain is like not here yet. So he's going to take her out to the woods and he starts digging. And I was like, he's gonna rebury her without a box or anything. Like he's been very particular about preserving her body, and then all of a sudden we're just gonna like toss her in the ground.
Yeah.
And like, no, not really. He just kind of like lays her in the grass and covers her up. So like I was like, this is not as effective as it
No,
should
but
be. But
this is where my
here's your
problem with
problem.
science came along.
Besides,
Because
okay.
when he laid her there and put all the flowers around her and created this weird
Mm-hmm.
like Snow White shrine to her. It was all
Yeah,
creepy, beautiful, gross,
sure.
whatever. But also, you taxidermied this broad's body into a seated position. There is absolutely no way without breaking it that she's now laying flat. That just like isn't
Yes,
physically
correct.
possible. I was so
Correct.
mad about it. I was like, you know that too, because you do taxidermy. Like you have these fucking birds all over your house with their wings
Right.
out. Do you just fold them and flap them around and play with them? No, because that's not how shit works.
It's not. See, that's what I thought you were going to say your problem was with the wheelchair. And I was like, no, she's taxidermy to sit. But
Yes, that's why
I
I
guess,
was
yeah.
like, no, I lied. I had a problem with the moving her concept, but it wasn't the wheelchair. It was the post wheelchair part of it.
Right. Right. And Sadie's doing. But yeah, so he's just laying her on the ground. And then we go to Dylan. Welcome back, Dylan, I guess.
I didn't
It's
think
not
he'd come
great.
alone.
I didn't either, but then I thought about it. So that was also my first thought. I didn't think he would come alone. I thought he would come with Emma and all this and that. But then I was like, they do have a child. Like,
Right, like leaving
if they
Emma
both
there so that
come,
is with somebody. No, that
right. And
makes
also that like
sense.
Kate doesn't have to go there, you know, like
Right,
so
because that's not a situation to bring a baby
it's not
into.
child friendly.
No.
So he shows up at the Bates home, and as soon as he pulls up, Norman pulls up beside him. And I was like, well, great. And he walks in, and there's dead flowers just like everywhere. And Norma's shoes are still like by the chair. It's like,
And there's like a pack of cigarettes on the piano, and like
mhm.
it's very uncomfy.
It was very unpleasant. But you can also, I'm sorry, so you're just like walking back and forth behind me. I don't know what she's doing. Um, sorry. Oh, and this is where they start playing with the light tricks again. These like next few episodes, it seems,
Yeah.
are gonna do this a lot. So we see how like Dylan's the only thing that really hold. Okay. So
We were talking
okay, yeah.
about
So
the lighting.
so he's bringing light into Norman's world again, which obviously hasn't had in ages. And then he starts telling him that him and Emma got married, and he tells him about the baby. And I was like, I don't know that I would have done that. I did wonder if he was going
Right.
to tell him though, because like I probably wouldn't know because he's so
Right.
crazy. Like I'd wait till he was like medicated and back in a facility, probably.
Right. But
But
I
that's
I
just me.
felt so bad, like the look on Dylan's face as he was looking around the house and seeing how bad things were with Norman. I was like, it could be so much worse because Norma could have been the one to open the door for you.
That's true. That's true.
Also, there could
But
still be a dead body in the basement.
yeah, and Norma is of course creeping around the corner as this interaction's happening, and Dylan starts asking him about if he's, are you still on your medication? Are you still seeing your doctor? Yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And Norman doesn't even lie about it. It's
No.
like, no, I don't need the medication. I saw Dr. Edwards a couple weeks ago, but otherwise I haven't seen him. And he's like, I'm fine. And he's like, okay, are you fine? And he's
I
like, yeah,
don't.
everything. He was like, it was really rough when mother passed away, and I do miss our mother, but I'm okay. I don't think so. And of course, Dylan also doesn't think so. So he's like super worried and he's gonna stay for a few days. And he starts taking more of a look around and goes up to her
Yeah.
room and finds her robe still hanging up and just like sobs. And he's just like, I'm so sorry.
In that moment, I knew that Dylan knew that Norman killed her.
Yep. Yep. It was a great scene, rough on the emotions. Yeah. Yeah. And then we go back to Alex, who is looking for his son. And Maggie's like, no, she's like, I know you've always lived by your own moral compass, but we can't, this is one thing we can't, do. You have to like be here, you have to heal, you have to stay
Yeah.
low or whatever. And she's like, is this about Norma? And he's like, yeah, Norma didn't kill herself. And she's like, well, what happened? And he just won't tell her, which like is probably best. But
Yeah, but I was like, oh, Meg, you're too good. You know your brother so well, and you just
I know.
actually like care, and that's why she hasn't been on the show much because she's a good person.
Right, she can't be in these people's presence too much. And then we go to Norman, who wakes up to Norma telling him Dylan cannot stay. She's like, I know, I miss him too, but it has to be the two of us. And she's like, the reality is we can't have him in our lives anymore.
The real
I
Norma
was
would
like,
never
oh,
say that though. Like that's the
right?
thing. Like some of these things, like most of the time, I feel like the distinction between Norman's Norma and real Norma is so subtle. But then there's things like the way Norman's Norma talks about Alex and Dylan that I'm just like, that is not her, like
Right. That's
at
very
all.
clearly not her. And and yeah, and he's just like, okay. And then we go to Dylan, goes to who goes to the pharmacy to try to get Norman his meds. And he's like, look, he's like, I understand that this is like not a typical procedure. Oh my gosh, stop. This is not typical procedure. He's like, but my brother really needs this. He's like, he's really crazy. He's losing it. He's not doing well.
Right.
And this is where we learn that Dr. Edwards is presumed dead. Are you kidding me?
And Dr. Edwards has been presumed dead for a year, which means that the conversation
Yes.
in the cafe, who
Never
even,
happened. Never happened.
which means he's hallucinating more than just Norma,
It's
which is
just
which we've never seen before. Like we've seen him
right.
do some crazy shit, but we've never seen him imagine someone was there that wasn't Norma. That fucked me all the way up.
I just like lost my mind for a second when they announced that. I was like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Oh yeah, no, I
So that's
was.
a new loose end to tie up. I thought we were just gonna let him be,
Yeah,
but apparently not.
I thought we were just gonna tie up all of the very loose ends that existed already and not like pull a
Right.
thread farther.
Exactly. Not like start something fresh. Um yeah, so Dylan gets home from the pharmacy and Madeline's there. And she's just like showing up at the house and he's like, hey, who are you?
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm Madeline. I'm friends with Norman. She's like, who are you? And he's like, I'm Dylan, Norman's brother. She looks at him and he's like, yeah, you didn't know he had a brother. Yep. Surprise. And
Surprise, I'm here.
right. And he tells her he's like, Norman's in a fragile state. But I'll tell him you came by, he'll call you. It's just not a good time today.
Right.
And he tells her that she tells him that she hasn't heard from Sam. And she's like, that's who I wanted to ask him about if he came here. And he's like, I'll ask him. No problem.
Yeah.
I'll take care of all this for
I got it because you don't
you.
want the answers.
Right, exactly. So he goes inside looking for Norman, obviously. And
Obviously.
Norman has
Started
fine,
cooking like a
I
he started
fine
cooking like
dining
a
meal.
oh yeah, fine dining, a really like fancy dinner just to like bully Dylan into leaving with kindness.
Right. I thought that it said it produced a fire, and then I went to the next line and saw it said dining meal. I was like, that's fine. That's
That's
why I like
just
paused for a bit. So I was like, I don't remember there being a fire.
there was not. I mean, there were candles, so
Sure,
technically,
sure, but like not in a dangerous way.
no.
Um, and yeah, so he sits down to have dinner, whatever this is, and he's telling him Madeline stopped by, and he's telling him about like his medication and stuff, and he's like, I got you a couple pills, it's fine. And he's like, she's asking about Sam, and he's like, well, I don't know how he went missing. Like, I have nothing to do with that. And I was like, Dylan never said he was missing per se. She was just asking about him.
Yeah,
And
Dylan for sure doesn't believe you.
no. And like at the same time, he's like using Sam's name in a past tense, which is always an indication of how things are going.
Correct. That's what investigators look for in murder
Tis,
investigations.
it is. And but he just keeps pressing him. He keeps questioning him. And I was like, Dylan, if you keep questioning him, he's going to kill you. And then he tries to kill him. Like, it's like,
Yeah,
oh my gosh. And Dylan just keeps getting closer. He brings him his medication. And I put, Dylan is too good for this world.
correct.
And
That's actually what I wrote. Oh, Dylan, you are too good for this world. That's
me
literally the
too.
note I
Me
have.
too. And I was like, you can't just give it to him. Like, he goes to the sink to take it. I was like, he's just going to wash it down the sink. Like, could so easily get away with that because his back is to you. And then he's like, starts. You see him start having this mental dispute with himself, and he's like, "Please stay out of his mother," but he's saying it out loud. And Dylan's like, "What's going on? What's happening?" He's looking at him, and mother comes out and attacks Dylan, and they get into a little spat, and Dylan's trying to fight him off, and Norman's trying to fight Norma off, and then Norman has this whole like breakdown break, and then he immediately goes to the phone, calls the cops, and confesses to Sam's murder. And I was like, oh my goodness. I was
Yeah,
like, what is happening?
I just wrote holy shit
Yeah, I
because
I had
that
no
was
idea what was going
for
on.
sure not on my bingo card.
No, no, not in my 10 million guesses for today's episode. Um, but that is how we ended it. That is the end.
Yep,
So
that was
I have a couple of trivia for you.
fantastic. I'm here for it.
Um, I already mentioned that the opening scene was the same shot as Marion in the film. Um,
Yes.
but the line that he uses with Sheriff Green that he uses about saying it's Linen Day is the same line he gave Arbogast in the original film. Um,
Okay.
and then when he is subduing Mother and trying to keep him from stabbing, trying to keep her from stabbing Dylan,
Yeah.
that's the same scene, but it's with that Sam Loomis was the one trying to subdue Mother, whereas now it's Norman doing it.
Hmm.
Um, in the film, which is very fun. That was a great
Yeah.
touch. And that's that. So who do you want to punch in the face?
List. The list. But I think I kind of want to go with Sheriff Green
Oh, I would have picked
because
her.
because I don't like her. She just rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, I feel that. Um, yeah, so I would have punched her. I forgot to get a backup because I really just want to punch her.
Right.
Um,
I mean, I
so
guess
I
I guess
guess,
Norman is always just the solid
yeah, I
backup.
was gonna say I guess Norman's the one, but like specifically
Especially okay,
Norman as Norma,
but no, especially if Norman killed Dr. Edwards.
right?
That is a level that I was not prepared for.
No, I was 0% prepared for that. But yeah, I guess I'm gonna go with Norman as Norma because
Okay.
Norman did try to at least fight Norma some this episode.
Right, which was nice.
Yeah. Um, who's your MVP?
Dylan. He's a sweet
Hey,
baby angel
of course.
because
Um,
he does all the right things. He gets the meds. He doesn't turn his brother in, but he does try to stop him. Like he does.
he just
He's
really wants to protect him and take care of it.
too
That's
good for
all
this
he
world.
wants.
Too good for this world.
Oh, Dylan. Yeah, yeah. Obviously, he's the choice.
Yeah.
But since you've chosen him, I'm gonna go with Maggie.
I was gonna
Just
say
for the same
Maggie's
reason.
the only other one,
Yeah,
but it's for the literal same reason.
exactly. Just trying to protect her brother and take care of him.
That's what we do. We protect our
Yeah.
brothers.
Yep. So I am at a loss for today's
Yeah, this
episode,
episode was like really, I didn't even know what to do.
right?
And I can't make predictions because I know what comes next.
Right.
Um, but I can just say to all of you who are going to be watching the two episodes we record today a week apart, none of the predictions that I would have made are what happens in the next episode. None.
We'll just tell you now you're wrong.
Just
Like,
not a one.
yeah, yeah, just go ahead and assume that. So it's fine. But yeah, so that's that. It's been a thriller Thursday. You can email us at deathandaliens@gmail.com. You can find us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can find me at CECloud13.
And you can follow me everywhere at ENKAY_superstar.
And we will see you for a very fun Sci Fi Sunday. Sunday Fun Day.
Bye.